Good.
All right, we'll get this recording here.
So should I record as well?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, why not?
I'm not added.
I'll get you all set up here. There we go.
Perfect.
All right. There's Franny, right? Can I call you Franny? Is that okay?
Please do. I prefer it.
Good
Perfect.
Good to see you, Franny. How are you?
I'm happy to be here. It's good to see all of you too.
Good
I'm
morning.
excited to get critiqued. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was able to take my lunch, so this works out good.
Well,
Where are you?
perfect.
I work for Lee County School District in Fort Myers, Florida. So
Okay.
I'm what they call a ESE staffing specialist. I work with the teachers for special education.
And it's lunchtime there.
Well, it's pretty much
Almost.
whenever I want, but this is, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Well, 11 o'clock, we start at like 7, so works out.
That's great, Franny. My wife went to school for special ed. She got her degree in special ed. And we also have, a child with special needs too. So yeah, great work.
I mean, I don't work with the kids anymore, but I do work with compliance to make sure that they're getting what they need. So I work with the teachers to make sure that they're doing what they need to do for the kids. So same thing.
Okay, so you're kind of like a liaison or advocate.
That's exactly what I am. I'm a liaison I work for the district, not for the particular building that I'm in. And I am the liaison from the district ESE, we call it exceptional student education here. So I'm a liaison from the district directives for this particular school or whatever schools they assign me to.
Fantastic. Well, you're doing great work there. They need people like you.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah. We got Jean.
But my passion is the art. So
That's great, and that's the thing. You have so many different backgrounds here with the folks that have
yes.
taken classes and joined the Facebook group, and it's just neat to see the different backgrounds. But we all have that one thing in common. We love art. We're wanting to learn portrait painting and getting better at that. And
wonderful community of people you have.
It really is.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
So fortunate. I am so glad I found all of you.
Well, we're glad
I am
you found
too.
us.
I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Jean and Marcia. Good to see you.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
All right. Fantastic.
Whereabouts are you, Jean?
Pardon?
What part of the world are you in?
Pennsylvania,
Oh, okay.
United States. How about you?
I'm in Canada, in Alberta, central Alberta.
And your name is?
I'm Della.
Della.
okay.
Oh, you do beautiful work.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Della and Donna. Excuse me. I got a little frog in my throat. Still a little early for me.
Mm.
Even though I wake up at 7, I don't really get rolling until about 2 in the afternoon. But anyway, Della and Donna are moderators in the Facebook group and also in the All Access membership, and they coordinate the critiques. So we do a live weekly critique in the All Access membership from 2 to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. And Della and Donna keep things rolling smoothly there, and make sure as many people as possible can get heard and get their comments across, and so the students get the help they need on their portraits. So glad to have Della and Donna in here, and
We have a great time.
Yeah,
We all really enjoy it.
it is good. It is good.
Della, can you remind me? I have my background blurred and I don't know how to change that. I can't remember what I did to change it.
Matt might know
That's-
better. I'm not sure either how to do that.
I do this all the time. Go up to your little picture and click on the dots.
Oh, there's the dots. I see it now.
In fact, I have to rename myself here too.
Yeah, I was clicking all the wrong little dots right there by the.
I find the blurred background very distracting. I don't know why. You'd think it would be the other way around, but it just people look odd in front of it, maybe that's why.
Well, it
All of
kind of does a little,
It does a cutout, that's
it kind of
why.
causes almost
Yeah.
a little stigma in the eye when you're looking between the two. Because there's movement in the blur that we don't consciously see, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
If
have
I could
people
blur
with,
my front this early in the morning. that would
You want to
be
blur your
great,
face?
actually. I am trying to get used to my hair, and I am trying to embrace my natural curl. My hair has been naturally straight my entire life. And this weird little quirk of 7 or 8 years ago or so, I was diagnosed with a neurological disease, and my hair went really curly. And I have no idea how to manage it. So I just straighten it all the time, but I'm trying to embrace it. And I wake up early for me this morning. I look in the mirror and go, man, I don't have time. It's like embrace.
I think it looks great, Donna.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
really cute.
Maybe we
I'm
just-
struggling with mine too. I understand. I have this weird wave and it just does what it wants, but.
Well,
But your hair looks
when you,
great. But yeah, and this curl is, because it's related to things neurological, there are still straight pieces. And so it's, but you know what, that's like, it's so third world problems as I say it out loud and realize that people actually struggle. It's like, I'll get over it. Oh,
all right. Well, we've got a couple more
yeah.
people joining here. Bill. Hello, Bill, and then somebody on their iPhone. Is that Jeff?
Yeah, that's Jeff.
Hey, Jeff, I thought it was you. Good to see you, man. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
You look like you're on the move.
Yeah, I'm at, I'm traveling and I'm at an ice arena for my daughter's competition today.
Oh, nice.
You're multitasking, I guess, hey?
Yeah. I got a little confused about the time zones.
Right.
What type of competition is she in? What, is it figure skating or?
Yes, well, it's ice dancing. She's doing ice
Ah,
dancing.
And
nice.
where are you?
We're in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, okay, so it is early there, yes.
Mhm.
All right. Well, hey, guys. Glad you could make it here. I'm going to get started. And just want to say thank you so much for joining this critique session here for our Spring Portrait Painting Challenge. And I hope you guys are doing well. And just want to ask you guys right off the bat, how are you guys enjoying the classes, those who are taking the Portrait Challenge? How are you guys enjoying the lessons?
I love them, the ones that I've purchased. And I don't want to get off track to what you want to talk about, but I want somebody to remind me. I noticed that you're not accepting anymore in your all access. So I was wondering if that's ever going to open up again, and because I would love to join that.
Oh,
Just so
yeah.
you know, I love the classes. You're a great teacher.
Oh, well, thank you, Franny. Yeah, and I've seen your comments in the school too, on the classes you've taken, and we've been kind of dialoguing back and forth there. Yeah, the all access membership will be opening up at the end of the challenge. So
Okay.
stay tuned
Great.
for that. I'll be sending
I
out
will.
an email announcement. Yeah, I just want to make sure that folks are getting the help they need. And then at the conclusion of that, we'll open it right up, and there you'll have access to all the many different classes in the school and the community as
Awesome.
well. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, let's open up with a word of prayer. I would be remiss if I didn't ask God for help on this critique here. So let's do that. Father, we come before you in Jesus' name, and I just want to say thank you for the artists that have joined this critique, and for those who weren't able to make it but are going to watch the recording later, I pray that you would bless them as well, and I pray that you would enable us to be able to encourage the artists who are doing the Portrait Challenge and have their sketches up for critique today. Help us to give them good insights on how to make their portraits better, and also to encourage them on what's looking good. And I just pray you'd help me to continue to teach the lessons well, that the students can finish their portraits with excellence, really be proud of what they create, and then go from there into doing other portraits that'll beautify the world around them and encourage the people that they love. So Lord, I pray you keep everyone in good health, help the technology to hold out, and we just ask a blessing on this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So again, guys, excited you're here. Thanks for taking the time to join here on a Thursday morning. And we're going to dive right in. But before we do, just want to again introduce Della and Donna. And these are the moderators for our All Access group and also the Realistic Acrylic Portraits group. And Della, Donna, do you have anything to mention in terms of our format here today?
Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah. I will go through a few things just because we do have some people who are new to our process. So I'll just sort of describe the process and walk through it. So Matt will introduce, because we're all doing the same picture in this setting, Matt will just introduce your picture, the one that we are about to critique. And if you have any specific thing that you are struggling with up to this point, mention it at the very beginning, and then that will be what we ask people to address first, but that won't be the only thing they address. They can also address other things. When we start, we ask everybody to mute themselves. Otherwise, there's just a lot of background noise that comes through. And when you have a comment to make or it's your turn to speak, we'll call on you, but also then you'll need to unmute yourself. And so if you just kind of familiarize yourself with where your mute button is, should be on the bottom left-hand side of most screens, I think. And so what we do just in process, Matt does a little bit of a overview of the picture and then opens it up for participants to see what we see in the paintings as well. A few things that we do, we refer to left and right. So if we say his left eye, we are referring to the eye that is on our left. And so just for clarity, so we're not always saying the eye that we see on the left, it's just that's how we refer to it. Matt will be doing some annotations on the screen as we're making comments. And just so you're aware, there's a bit of a lag. So if it's taking a minute and you think, no, that's not what I'm saying, move over to the left. It's just that sometimes that lag means there's a few minutes. It may also mean that as I've said, hey, that nostril on the right looks a little bit too big. While he's making that nostril annotation, he may notice that the wing needs a little adjusting too. So he may just add that at the same time to help us all stay on track. We try to be brief because we have limited time for each one. And so rather than give a very long description of how this is my uncle's brother's niece has the same issue, we just try to stick to the topic. And so I'm following notes because I'm as bad as anybody else at going after the squirrels, trust me. Let's see, the time lag. Oh, this is important, I think anyway. It doesn't matter if you have been in the group from the beginning or you joined in yesterday on the portrait challenge. If you see something and you have something to say, you put up your hand and you share it. Even if you are sharing a piece of feedback that might help improve the portrait, or if you go, wow, I love the way you have rendered that eye, or whatever it is, your input is just as important. And my tip is this: I learn so much from the critiques, both listening to what other people are doing and then myself attempting to provide some critique, because it's in doing that that we learn to be really watchful for those little things. And then we apply that to our own painting. And the notes section. If you have a comment and you don't want to speak, or we're running short on time and decide it's time to move on, there's a chat section that is also recorded. And so people can refer back to that in the recording. And so feel free to put your comments in that section if we don't get to you. Della, am I missing probably.
think you said it all, and just, yeah, keep your eyes keen. See what you
Yeah.
can see and help the artist out.
Perfect.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Thank
see
you,
Bill
Donna.
has his hand up. Could we ask
Perfect.
him what,
Yeah.
Bill?
Go ahead, Bill.
Maybe his hand is up in air, or he can't find his unmute button.
He's not muted. Bill, can you
His
put,
hand is down now, so possibly it was an error that he put it up. Can you hear us, Bill? I know he was
All right.
struggling to get his audio connected, so possibly that's his issue.
Yeah. No worries. No worries.
feel free to put notes in and we will watch for that.
In
Dylan,
the chat, yeah, where it says
be
chat
watching
at the bottom.
Okay. Well, hey, let's dive into the critique here. Thank you, Donna and Della, for sharing the format, and appreciate your help here. And we're gonna switch over to my screen. Oh, and before we do that, are you guys all okay? Just kind of with a show of hands, or whatever, an eye, yes, whatever, smoke screens. Are you guys okay with this being put into my YouTube channel so that folks can get the recording? You guys all good with that? Yes. Okay, it seems like most of you are good with that. All right. Okay, let's go into the screen. And here we go. There we got the reference photo, and we've got some images up for critique. So let's
Jeff
begin.
has, oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Do you have a
Jeff
comment?
had his hand up. I wondered if he had something he needed to.
Well, I think
Oh,
you
I was just, that was a thumbs up, not a hand up.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
All right, perfect. Okay, let's begin with Jean. Jean, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about your portrait. Anything we can help you with on it. Go ahead, Jean. The mic is yours. You'll need to unmute yourself, though, Jean.
Okay, I probably have a lot less experience than most of you, so I have a lot more to learn. So I'm really looking forward to this. I did the Larry portrait, but life got in the way and I had to finish it. It sat unfinished for a couple years. Then I had to finish it and I couldn't find the videos. So I just had to finish it on my own. And I think I did okay with the colors, but I think his face was a little different than he looks. Surprisingly, he looks like my father-in-law. That's what people thought I made. Um, but on this portrait, I'm really struggling with the mouth as I see them face to face. When I'm doing it, I feel like I'm using the grid lines and I'm in where the grid lines are supposed to be, but the outcome is not the way it does. Like my mouth looks much wider, my nose looks much wider, and my eyes look bigger than in reality what I forget her name,
Diane.
Diane looked like. But when I'm doing it, I feel like I'm using the line, so I'm getting confused. Plus, I'm having trouble with my the colored pencils. At this point, my canvas is rough and thick, and the pencils are not good quality. But it's still, So I feel like the line. I feel like it's getting very muddy, along with all the erasures that I've been doing because I've changed her features so much. I feel like it's also getting very muddy. So looking forward to tips that can help me maybe fix my canvas up and get her face more to what it should look like.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for the introduction, Jean, and we'll be happy to help you with this portrait, give you some clarity on it. Yeah, and I think overall you've done a nice job, getting the gesture, the form of Diane's face in. You've really given her a nice smile, and she does have a nice smile, and the expression of her eyes, kind of the overall distance between her eyebrows and her eyes. You got that nicely done. Like for example, there is a greater distance between the eyebrow and the left eye, and then the right eyebrow on that eye. So there's a little shorter distance on that side, and you've captured that on your portrait. So well done there. Now, in terms of improvement, And by the way, if you guys see something you'd like to share as I'm speaking, go ahead, raise your hand right now, and then Della and Donna can, get your comment in here. But I'm gonna comment in terms of the mouth, because that's one of the features I see, right off the bat, that,
That was a struggle.
and you're aware of it too. And sometimes,
Yes, absolutely.
you can be aware of what's off, but not know exactly how to adjust it. And that's what we're here to do.
And right now, adjusting anything is hard because it's not erasing well for me. My canvas, I think I erased all the gesso and everything off of it, I feel.
Okay.
So I'm having problems
Did you
trying to correct it. And I know it needs correcting.
Sure. Did you use colored pencil for the sketch?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah.
The
And
cheaper colored pencils. I need to buy my grandkids better art equipment.
oh, okay. Okay.
I don't have Prismacolors. I do plan to get them before I do any more work on this.
Yeah. And you
There's different
prepared
colors in
the,
my sketch because I've used different pencils because one wore out. So
okay. You prepared the surface with matte, medium, and gesso as well?
yes, I did. After I did my grid lines, I did exactly like you said.
Mm-hmm.
My grid lines were a little light and I struggled working with them, but I was still able to see them to get the proportions. So that didn't give me such a hard time, but I would know in the future to make them a little darker. But so
Okay.
that gave me a struggle. But right now, because I've erased, especially the mouth, I mean, all her facial features I've erased a number of times, but especially the mouth.
Okay.
And I'm having a hard time erasing it at this point.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a little harder to erase, if you've really drawn quite darkly and, gone over the same area many times. Eventually, yeah, it is a little harder. So if you really can't erase it with, one thing you can do is use I don't know if you have a automated eraser, like a battery operated eraser.
I do.
They can really get in there and get that pencil out of the grooves of the canvas pretty nicely. So you might want to try that. If you can't do that at all, then you might have to go over with, some gesso.
With a small brush.
With a small brush.
That I was thinking that might be the thing, but I didn't want to do anything without asking.
Yeah.
If that was a good idea.
Yeah. So, okay. So here's the grid line I can see. You've got the main 2-inch grids and the 1-inch insets here. I can kind of see them a little bit. We can see, how the smile exceeds that quite a bit, because if we're looking at this kind of like fractions here, and just break it down, this is maybe the edge of her mouth goes maybe a quarter of the way across this square or less.
I'm
And
about
you've got
a
it.
half, I'd say.
You've got it almost a half. So that might seem like a small amount, but it's actually quite a bit within this area. And that makes a huge difference on the accuracy of her mouth and her smile. So you want to shave that in to about a quarter, and then you'll move the nasolabial fold accordingly. Another thing you can do is, line it up with the features, and you'll often find that the edge of the mouth most times lines up with the middle of the iris or the pupil. Now in this
Oh yeah, mine would be off.
yeah. So you want to just trim that and bring it in. That's really going to help you quite a bit. Now, let's take a closer look here at her eyes. And let's see. Well, the other thing too, before we get into the eyes, the nose as well needs to be tapered. Again, here's that inset grid line. And in the reference photo, the edge of the nose wing falls short of this line, and you have it actually like right on the line. So the width of the nose needs to be tapered in as well. Here we have the edge of the line, again, breaking it down to fractions. The edge of her eye, basically you're looking at just a little over half or maybe, 3/5 of the way across. And so, right now you've got that eye going really close to the edge. You see that difference there, Jean? Is it kind of clicking now?
Yes.
So you want to taper that in and bring that eye in closer to about here. It's very common to, draw eyes a little bit larger than what they are because it's such an important feature, and we just tend to enlarge what we like. So you'll get the knack of seeing the proportions over time. But yeah, taper in those eyes, taper in that smile, taper in the nose a little bit.
Yeah,
And
all her features see, seemed to me to be a little big. It's funny when I had it on the canvas, when I looked at it, they didn't seem askew until I took the picture and then I posted it and looked at it. And then it really, maybe because it was smaller, then I thought to myself, wow, I'm really off. I didn't realize how much I was off. So I was happy for this critique to see it. But that I noticed that it didn't seem as off on the canvas big in front of me. But I can
yeah,
definitely, and even when I had the picture by it, it didn't seem as off as it does now, where they're both the same size here.
yeah, that is a very common experience with students. Yeah, that it looks much better when you see it in person, but then you put it on the screen, and then you'll see all the
Yeah,
irregularities. So yeah, there's something about seeing it next to the reference photo very close.
very close and the same size. It's
Yep.
really eye-opening.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Gene, I hope this helps. I hope that gives you some clarity.
How is that was my basic clarification. And I don't want to take too much time, but are the rest of the proportions pretty much on track?
Um, yeah, when I
I
look
mean, I
at
know it's not going to be perfect, it's still, but I mean, more,
yeah,
these are the major,
yeah, the overall size of the face, I think, is well done. It's just the facial features are
are
too
too
large.
large.
That's
All of
really
them.
what it is.
That's
So if you,
first what I submitted, her face was way rounder and I slimmed her down, but her features needed to be slimmed down.
yeah, yeah. So if you, use gesso a little bit, whatever you need to do, or a battery operated eraser
Now,
to
would you mix
trim it.
gesso with a little bit of matte medium to go over if after I erase it? Would you mix that?
It depends on how thick your gesso is. Gesso actually is not super opaque. It's less opaque than titanium white. Um,
I'll experiment with it later.
so yeah, you might want to just use it straight without any matte medium, unless it needs to be made more fluid.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah, you're very welcome. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go next to Jeff. Jeff,
Can we, Matt,
yeah.
excuse me, oh, maybe Jeff's back now. He said he was going to be away for a few minutes. Are you here now, Jeff?
His picture's showing up, but he's driving. So.
He could be driving. Yeah, he asked if he could go a little bit later.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay, let's go next to Franny then. Franny, go ahead and tell us about your sketch, what you've been working on, areas that we can give you some help on.
So I struggle with the mouth as well. You can tell there's a lot of erasure in there. But I did the same exact thing and made it too wide. I
Mhm.
think I have at least close to the right proportions now, but to me, it's definitely in the face. And I feel like her face is too wide. When I looked at it this morning, I kind of see that I've got the forehead at the very top too wide. But again, yeah, following the lines, I thought I had it right. But every time I walk away from any sketch and come back, there's something else that I see. But definitely in the face, I feel like I've got it too wide. I feel like the mouth might still be a little too wide. And then, of course, anything else you see.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing this, Franny. And I think you're doing a great job in this. And um, overall the proportions look very nice, and it's got a nice semblance of Diane's likeness. I think that really comes across well. I also really like the modeling you've done for the lights and darks. How you've got some of that shading there representing the 3 dimensions of her face, and how you're going to start to glaze that in when you begin that part of the process. So that's nicely done. And the hair too is good. That's very well done. So in looking at it, I would say, her eyes are a little bit too large, again, very common. So let's just take a look, but they're not off by a lot. But I think, you know, you'd want a little more negative space between the edge of that iris and the sclera. All right, so just to kind of shrink that down, let's just get these about exactly the same size here. Makes it easier to see. But yeah, just shrink down that iris a little bit and get more of the white of the eye prominent. Now, let me just take a look
Okay.
at where we have that grid line. I think it's somewhere right about here. Yeah, so you're pretty close. I mean, because we look at the edge of the eye here. Now we do have, this is where the sclera meets, you know, the actual corner of the eye with the upper lid and the lower lid. And then here's the actual kind of the outer edge where the eyelashes stop. And let's see, this could be a little closer towards the middle. So yeah, if you move it like this, all right, so you shrink down that iris, move this edge of where the sclera meets the corners of the eye, then I think it's going to be more accurate. But again, not a huge change, just some slight adjustments, but they do make a big difference.
Yes.
You know,
No.
so something more like that. Now, actually, this upper lid, there is more of a distance up there. I should get that represented right here. So there's more of a distance, and then it kind of tapers in right there. And that's something often we'll forget. We'll want to kind of make it the same distance all the way around. There's actually more distance up there at that point. The other eye, kind of similar. Yeah, just shrink it down a little bit.
Okay.
Nose looks good. Maybe a little bit rounder on the bottom. It's just a bit hard to see the sketch when it's enlarged, but let's see. Yeah, the wing of the nose is going about the right distance to the edge of this grid line. And I think on the mouth, maybe just a little more of a taper, you know, on this upper lip right here. Right, so it's not quite so straight across, but overall, it's very accurate. And then this line could come up a little bit more right here.
Okay.
Nasolabial fold, it's just a bit fuller right there. And maybe comes down just a bit more. Now, if you guys see anything as well, feel free to raise your hand. We'll get your comments too. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. That's the biggest thing I'm seeing is the size of the eyes.
You agree about the top of the forehead on the right, our right? I feel like it's a little too wide. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really look at that yet, but what do we have here? A little more curvature. Some of this
Okay.
is going to be described by the brushwork that you do, okay? And we have to keep in mind that you're looking at this very flat shape right now, right? But when you paint it, you're going to have all these different gradations, right? So it's going to be darker, little lighter, lightest. And as you have the shading put in there, you'll be able to describe the form much more than what you can see in the sketch.
That'll change it too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I try to keep that in mind as I sketch as well, because, you know, I often don't achieve the likeness I'd like in my sketch, but I know that I'll achieve it in the painting as long as I get it close. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I think it's more,
Thank you.
yeah, just kind of getting that shading in there. All right.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, good. Well, Franny, I'm glad this helps. Awesome.
It does. So you always do.
Well, thank you. God is good. Keep up the good work on this.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move on next to, and I'm just gonna go random here. Some of the folks here aren't necessarily on this meeting, but they still have their work up for critique. So I'm just gonna grab one here, and we'll go with Janice. Let's see, Janice D'Ambrosio. Now, Jeff, you have to let me know when you're ready. Maybe,
He's not back yet, Matt,
okay, he can leave something in the chat and let me know.
or I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Janice D'Ambrosio up. Let's give her some help with this. She's not here in the meeting, and I know a lot of folks weren't able to necessarily make it at this time frame, so we'll have these up later for recording. They can watch it later. Get the reference photo up. Right. All right, so I know Janice had left some comments that she was struggling a little bit with, certain areas, and just want to help her with that. So Janice, thank you for doing the challenge. Thank you for sharing this here. I think overall you've done a great job capturing the kind of the smaller size of Diane's eyes. Now, everybody has a particular look, and Diane's eyes are a little smaller, a little further away than some people, and that's kind of a distinctive look that she has. And I like how you've captured that. I like how you saw that aspect in the reference photo and brought that out. You also brought out kind of the thinness of her lips, and the kind of angle here on her nose, the nasal structure, where it's a little bit smaller here in the middle and then fans out wider at the bottom. So I like that you did that. Let's take a closer look and just give you, some tips on how to improve it, make it even better. So one of the things that I can see is that there's maybe a little bit of a simplistic portrayal to some of the forms. And that's where, you can take some of the irregularities and just kind of smooth them out too much. And then that will detract from the realism. Also, there's a bit of an exaggeration of some of the forms. Like, this is a very compelling form in her face. It is very dominant, and something that's noteworthy. But I think you've exaggerated that a little bit, Janice. And so if you can smooth that out, that's going to help. Starting with the eyes, for example, there is an upper, let me just get this just about exactly the same size. There's a little bit of a gap, and we have that upper lid. Now, you don't have the upper lid portrayed in your portrait. So you're going to want to show that upper crease, and that's going to help. Also getting a flatter bottom to the eye, because we often will portray eyes like footballs, where they're the same on the top as they are on the bottom, but in reality her eye is much flatter on the bottom. And part of that has to do with her smile, and part of that is just an anatomical thing. There's a little more white on the left side, more sclera on that left side. Eyebrow has a little bit more of an angle, almost a peak up here. So that's something you'd want to portray. So that, I think, would help. And her eyes in general could be just a bit larger than what you have too. Now let's go to that other eye. So here we have a little bit of a different shape. So the right eye is different than the one on the left. This has a bit more of a squared off shape. And that is often the case with people where one of their eyes doesn't match the other eye. And that's kind of a unique look that she has, a little heavier set area above her eyelid. So if you can portray that, just add a couple angles here, and then add that outer lid on the top, that's going to really help you out. And again, getting that little bit of a stronger white of the eye, the sclera. Okay, that's going to help too. Eyebrow, we have a little bit of a thickness here that you want to portray. It's not quite as thin. Now, she does have thin eyebrows, but they're not as thin as what you've portrayed. So you want to give that a little more thickness and show more of the irregularities. As we get into the nasal bone, that's going to need to move over to the right a little bit more. It's too pronounced. Bottom of the nose, the ball of the nose is going to be a little bit longer than the wings of the nose. So that's another change you can make that'll really help. Nasolabial fold, there's actually a couple angles here. We have one angle, another angle, another angle, and another angle. So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 different angles in that nasolabial fold, but you have it simplified to just one. So if you can get those different angles in there, again, you're going to increase the realism and her likeness dramatically. On the mouth, you want to have that edge of the smile kind of meeting up towards, again, the middle of the pupil if you draw a straight line down. And it should be closer if you just look at that distance here. Should be closer to that nasolabial fold. Should be more of a little lift here. And then it could be a little bit wider on this side. It should kind of go up to about the edge of that iris. So a little wider. And then it's also open wider vertically on the left side, and then it tapers narrower on the right side. And I think so many people that have done this portrait challenge so far have seen that unique feature on Diane and have portrayed it very, very well, but just want to bring that to your attention. And the white of her teeth should come out more to the left. So just some different things you can do. There is actually a little width to her lips. You know, her lips are not quite as narrow as what we think. This is actually the true width of her lips right there, because this area here is just kind of a darker portion that's not receiving light, and the light is kind of hitting the tip of it. So that's actually the true width of her bottom lip. All right, so we want to kind of suggest that in there so we don't make her lips too thin. Anyway, so those are some tips for you, Diane. I hope that helps you out. If you guys see anything again, go ahead, raise your hand. We'd love to get your comments in. But keep up the good work, Janice, and I hope those tips help you out. All right, look forward to seeing more of your work in the group.
Matt, Jeff is back.
All right, we got Jeff here. Good. All right, so Jeff, you're up next. Pull up your sketch.
Thank you, and sorry for the wait.
No worries, no worries. Go ahead.
So if you wouldn't mind pulling her reference photo up. So I guess from a 1,000 feet high description, you know, the proportions are fairly close. I have trouble with the hair. I'm not used to I used a mechanical pencil on board, and I'm not used to the precision drawing approach to this. So I struggled with the hair, you know, the locks. She has very beautiful hair, and I don't think I'm doing it justice quite yet. The other thing that's sort of a red herring for me is the Austin Powers effect of her teeth. I feel like you know, the value of her lips and the gums sort of I got confused by that, and so maybe that's a little off. But the biggest thing, I think, I really enjoy Russian Impressionist painters like Nikolai Fashin, who moved to the United States. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I really appreciate his work. Mm-hmm. And he puts most emphasis on, you know, in his portraits, on the face and the hands. Mm-hmm. And I think I missed it on the hand on the left. I should have probably have subgridded that a little bit even further than I did. I just don't think I have the right shape. So those are the high level things, and I would appreciate any other feedback you have as well. Thanks, Matt.
You bet, Jeff. Thanks for sharing this. And yeah, you've done a great job capturing, you know, just the overall look. I think you've really captured her beauty. She looks beautiful here, and her eyes look very energetic, and you know, I think it's really nice. That all being said, her eyes do look a little bit larger than, you know, what hers actually are. So let's just take a look at that quick. And I do want to give you some feedback on her hair because you specifically asked about that. So I'm not going to touch on this for too long. But yeah, I would just really look at the size of the iris and shrink that down, get more of that negative space of the sclera, kind of like what we've mentioned with a couple others here. And yeah, and then the tear duct, you know, it's gonna not come out quite as far. The overall width too of the top you know, it should be a little bit narrower, flatter on the bottom. Again, more of the white of the eye showing. Just use a different annotation so you can kind of see that better. And yeah, so I think that'll help with their eyes. Now let's take a look. I think you've done a good job in the nose. I like how you sculpted the forms there. Very well done. You know, this could be a little darker, but you know, this is a sketch. You can do all that with paint. You got some of the different angles here in the nasolabial fold. That's good. And then down to the mouth, you're talking about the values of the teeth getting dark. And keep in mind as you paint, that can all be lightened up. You know, sometimes they can get a little bit muddy with, you know, just smearing, and it gets hard to erase, but you'll be able to just go over the top of that with, you know, your titanium white and raw umber dark or whatever you use and lighten that up. But there is a little bit too much of the philtrum. That's a little too pronounced. You want to flatten that down a little bit, and that will help. And yeah, probably a little more tapered on this right side as well. And I think that's going to help quite a bit. Now let's talk about the hair, because I know you specifically asked about that. All right. So I like some of the blocking in for the values you've done. That's a nice look. Her hair has just a little more waviness to it. So like here you've got it kind of, you know, straightened up on the top. But if you can add a little more of a wave to it, that's going to help. Just to see, you know, the outer form. So I always kind of start with the outer form first. And when I sketch this in, the first thing I did is I kind of just roughly blocked in the outer contours. And that sets the stage then for getting some of these inner value forms. And they can follow along with what you've already done as a foundation on the outside. With that being said, you know, just go ahead and draw on top of what you've done, then go ahead and erase a little bit after that. All right, and you'll have that dialed in. And then you can follow suit with getting a nice curved form in here. You know, for example, seeing some of these value shapes. This is something I talked about, you know, with Larry and Maka and Cora. You know, all the different portrait challenges are these nations and states. It's kind of a metaphor that we use where, you know, if you have a map, you've got, you know, United States or Canada, whatever, and that's the large shape. But within that, you've got these states and provinces, and they occupy specific regions and specific shapes. And so that's kind of how I see these specific value shapes. They've got to be in the right area, kind of the right size and right shape. And when you're looking at your reference photo, if you can break down those forms, that goes a long ways in portraying the realism. You always try to look at common values, what's you know, similar, and then identify those and then represent them onto your canvas. Sometimes you have to simplify them, make them more abstract to get the realism, but that's a nice way to do it. Anyway, so I hope that gives you some ideas, just seeing some of those forms. If you incorporate that, you will be able to get her hair more realistic. And then let's take a look at her hand. Lastly, I think you've done a nice job on that. You know, I like the way you've gotten some of the shading showing the last knuckle there and how it's turned in, and then the fingernails. I think that's nicely done. What I'm seeing on the hand is maybe a little bit more work on this outer edge, you know, showing the shadow from the palette being cast over that area to kind of sculpt in, show the scalloped area of the knuckles, and maybe just a little bit more detail on the form of the knuckles. And then as you, yeah, there's maybe a little bit of a gap here between the index finger and the middle finger, and then a little bit of a divot right there. But what you have right now, I think, is close enough, you know, with maybe a few changes that you can dial it in the painting process. That's where it all happens, really, is when you begin to put that paint on there and you can adjust the forms. I can't tell you how many times I had to do that with the portrait challenges where the sketch just wasn't quite right. And I said, you know what, it's time to move on. I could be messing around with this sketch for 3 more days, but that's not going to get me closer. So just start putting paint on there, and then you can start sculpting the forms and dialing it in. Anyway, so Jeff, I hope that all helps.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Hey, you bet. Keep up the good work, and it's looking great. Glad to have you in this challenge here. Okay, we have time maybe for one more critique. At random, I pulled out Yvette. So Yvette, I think you're in the meeting too, aren't you?
She is waving at us.
Great. Okay.
You can unmute yourself, Yvette. Do you know how to do that?
Got it. Okay, thank you.
There you go.
All right. We've got Yvette here. So Yvette, let's go ahead and get your perspective on your portrait, how you feel you're doing, how we can help you with it. Go ahead.
Well, I follow your video. The hands are the fingers. I think it was the hardest for me, and the hair, and the mouth a little bit.
Okay. So you'd like a little help with the hands and the hair? Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's start with that. I think overall, very nice portrait, good proportions. Yvette, just gonna ask you, have you done portraits before?
No.
Wow, well, very good then. This is your first portrait?
Yes.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Congratulations. This is really, really nice for your first portrait.
Yeah. Well, I have and I tried to do one in color, and it was terrible in oil. And then I prefer to do it like a black and white, but it's anyway. So I guess I can say I tried with
Yeah.
not much success, but I cannot say, oh yeah, I have done, because I've been trying.
Yeah. All right. Well, fantastic. You know, I'm glad that you're taking the challenge here and you're doing a great job. So keep up the good work. I like the shading you've put in on her hair, actually. This is really nice. You could see some of these darker forms and render those in there. So that's nice. You know, like I was saying with Jeff, if you can kind of see that outer form a little more accurately, let's zoom in there a little bit closer. That's going to help you out quite a bit to really look at these outer contours. Now, I'm not going to ask you to go and erase what you've done. The better option is to just draw on top of what you have and then erase around any lines that conflict with what you're just putting down. All right, so
Okay.
right here it's very light, so you have some negotiation room, so to speak, and you can go ahead and you can see, you know, some of these kind of wavy forms and just draw some lines kind of like that representing those forms.
Okay.
And then here, you know, maybe a little bit more wavy, try to get in a couple curve forms like that. On this side here, we've got some hair that kind of comes out, and you could maybe get that form in. You know, this area here actually is quite dark, and if you look at this grid line, it actually goes past it quite a ways. So you can get that in there, you know, and get these nice curvilinear forms in there. You know, you want to try not to just make it how you want it to look. Really look at the reference photo, because otherwise you'll end up doing like this and everything is going to be all the same, and it'll be like waves on an ocean, and you know, that's not gonna look quite as realistic. So just really look at the particular forms. Here we have a divot, and then here it's actually kind of straight, really straight right there, and then you have another divot coming out. So try to see those specific forms and just think of it more like, less like hair and more like just forms, like you're drawing hills or something, you know, and just follow kind of what you're seeing take place on that reference photo. Half of doing realism is just kind of getting rid of the ideas of what you think things look like, and then just actually drawing and painting what you see. Yeah, so if you do that, that's going to help a lot. But what you have is really nice. So just you can tighten it up a little bit with that. Now,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You had asked about her hands. So we want to make sure we address that. Let's take a look at that left hand. It looks good. You know, I like how you have the paint brushes coming forward in perspective. They look very believable, like you could just reach out and touch them. So good job with that. I would say this top finger, maybe a little bit rounder, kind of round that off, make it a little bit thicker. That's the biggest thing I'm seeing. This is just too much to a point.
Okay.
And that will help you out a lot. Yeah, maybe this part could be a little bit thicker there, but that's the biggest thing I'm seeing, is just bring that out a little further. Go to the right hand and a little bit angular here. That could be rounded off a bit more. A little bit rounder here. This could come out a bit more. I mean, if we want to be really, really picky, I mean, we could just zoom way in and, you know, scrutinize every little angle. But when I look at it overall, I think you've done a good job, because you've got the fingers kind of ending at the right place. Okay, now one thing to notice though is that there is a little bit of a different look here, where, see this shape? That's
Yes.
actually, that's her fingernail, and that's in perspective. It's foreshortened because the last joint of her finger is curled in. And you've got the fingernail really straight, but it's actually going to be a shape like this. I know that's hard to see on that reference photo, so you have to really kind of get close in. But that's the shape you're trying to create as her fingers are curved in and grasping the palette.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so if you kind of just erase this area here, just the fingernail, and then kind of redraw that in, that'll really help you out. Just get those
Cool.
shapes kind of dialed in there, you know, like that. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Were you going to address her mouth a bit, Matt?
Well, Della, it just would not be a critique without having Della address the mouth. Della is our mouth expert. So in our live critique meetings, she is so good at analyzing mouths and just helping people with them. I don't know why, but that's her gift. Della, go ahead.
You've got me on the spot here. I thought you were going to do it. Um, the mouth looks great. What I can see is on the right, it needs to come down a bit. You have it higher than on the left, whereas in the reference photo, it's the opposite way.
Okay.
So that's probably the biggest thing I see. I like the way you've done her teeth. You've got them in the right direction. It's just the top lip, I guess, that needs to come down a bit on the right side.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Della.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour here. Wow, we finished it within time. I love it. All right. So we weren't able to get to everybody that submitted their work for critique. I think we got everybody that joined us live. And then I tried to grab a couple others as well that they can watch this in the recording. So anyway, I hope this all has been helpful for you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Franny.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet,
Look
Jean.
forward to making those changes.
Post your
Great.
work in the group, please, so that we can see your changes.
It will be a little while because we're going away, but
Okay.
I'm not going to do anything more until I get the proper colored pencils. So there will be differences, but I want to fix, before we go, I want to fix the matte and make the erasure so that I can start new, like
Perfect.
especially the mouth and the eyes. The mouth, eyes I may be able to just erase. The mouth needs some gesso.
There you go. You have a game plan, right?
I do.
That's good. That's good. So I see Maria joined late. I just want to say hi, Maria and Marcia. I think we said hi to Marcia already, but yeah, hi again, Marcia. Maria, you joined a little late. Good to see you. And for the rest of you here, Franny, and Jeff and Yvette. God bless you guys. Thanks for joining today.
Bless you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have a recording up. We'll put that up on my YouTube channel. So you guys can refer to that later if you need to for the changes we
Yes.
discussed. All right.
All right.
All right, Donna, Della, thanks for joining and moderating today.
You bet.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless
Happy
you guys.
painting, everyone.
See you later.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.